Welcome back to Windsor Chronicles, the show where we look beyond the official statements and glossy royal photo ops to uncover the stories the palace prefers to keep in the shadows. I'm your host, and today we're peeling back one of the most tightly guarded subjects inside Buckingham Palace, King Charles's health, and the growing sense that the truth may not be what we're being told. Over the past few days, whispers around the palace corridors have turned into a quiet storm. It all began after King Charles and Prince William made a rare joint appearance in London, at the Natural History Museum, during a pre-COP30 climate event. On the surface, it looked like a father and son united for a good cause. But for many watching, it was something else entirely. A moment that raised eyebrows and questions in equal measure. Because the king didn't look well. Reports say that just weeks earlier, during the Trump's state visit to Windsor, Charles seemed lively and engaged, the kind of presence we've come to expect from a monarch determined to prove he's still in control. But this latest appearance told a different story. Those close-up photos, the ones the palace probably wishes hadn't circulated, showed a visibly thinner, drained king. His suit seemed to hang loosely, his complexion pale, and now speculation is mounting that his health is in steeper decline than the palace is letting on. Royal watcher Tom Sykes, writing in The Royalist, didn't hold back. He described his shock at Charles's frail appearance, calling it impossible to ignore. According to Sykes, palace aides continue to insist that the king is merely pacing his schedule, but those who've seen the recent photographs believe they tell a different story, one of exhaustion and possibly deeper illness. Sykes went as far as to say the institution is running what he calls an Orwellian cover-up, keeping up a facade of royal vigour while carefully filtering what the public is allowed to see or hear. And if that sounds dramatic, remember, it's not entirely without precedent. The palace has a long history of protecting royal health details from public scrutiny. Behind the polished press releases lies a more complicated truth. Sources close to the king say he remains intellectually sharp, passionate about his work, and still very much the boss. But they also reveal that he tires more easily, sleeps longer, and often struggles to keep up with the relentless pace of royal life. Those around him, especially Queen Camilla, are said to be deeply worried. And interestingly, Camilla herself hasn't looked her usual self in recent months either. Friends describe her as quiet and stretched thin. Some reports even suggest she's had her own health issues to manage, making this year especially difficult for both of them. Still, the king has refused to slow down. He's kept up his foreign tours, including long-haul flights to Australia and Samoa, and continued with his domestic duties, investitures, and even late-night cultural outings. According to some sources, his energy during those trips may have been chemically supported, with speculation about steroid treatments, keeping him on his feet. But no matter how determined the king may be, the signs of strain are getting harder to disguise. And quietly, within palace walls, preparations are being made, not just for events, but for what insiders delicately refer to as demise planning. That means reviewing funeral arrangements, coordinating transition procedures, and ensuring that when the inevitable day comes, the monarchy moves seamlessly into its next chapter. Yes, that includes revisiting roles for members of the family, even those currently estranged. In fact, some insiders suggest that both Harry and Meghan will be invited to take part in official commemorations when that time arrives, a move that could both honour tradition and signal a form of reconciliation. Now, before we go too far down that road, let's talk about why this topic, the king's health, matters so much. The monarchy isn't just about individuals, it's about continuity. And with a hereditary system, the well-being of one person affects the future of the entire institution. King Charles's condition shapes everything. The pace of Prince William's increasing responsibilities, the tension with Prince Harry, and even Camilla's own uncertain position as the future Dowager Queen. It also casts new light on William's behaviour, his reluctance to reconcile with Harry, his intense focus on legacy projects, and his readiness to step into the spotlight when needed. Every move within the royal family right now seems calibrated around one uncomfortable truth. Time may be running short. There's also the human side of all this, something the tabloids rarely acknowledge. While commentators speculate about power and succession, at the heart of it all is a son watching his father fade. Prince Harry has spoken more than once about wanting to make peace with his dad, not for politics, not for image, but simply for love. He's reportedly told friends that he feels a clock ticking. Some close to him even believe the king might have only about a year left. And when you think about it that way, it's not a story about royal maneuvering. It's about family, mortality, and the fragility of time. As for Camilla, she's said to be preparing for the inevitable too. Those close to her expect that when the time comes, she'll retreat quietly to her country estate at Ray Mill, the place she's always considered her true home. Sources suggest the king has already made financial provisions for her comfort, ensuring she'll remain secure and respected, even as the crown moves on. But for now, both she and Charles continue to project steadiness, determined to keep the focus on duty rather than decline. In the end, what we're seeing isn't just the health story of one man. It's a portrait of an aging monarch, carrying the weight of centuries-old expectations. The palace may try to control the narrative, but the images, the absences, and the fatigue all tell their own quiet truth. King Charles's reign began with hope and purpose, reshaping the monarchy, modernizing the institution, bridging generational divides. But as his health falters, the question isn't just how long he can keep going, it's what kind of monarchy he'll leave behind. And perhaps, when the history of this reign is finally written, it won't be about crowns or ceremonies, but about how the royal family faced the one thing even they can't control: time itself. You've been listening to Windsor Chronicles. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow, share, and join me next time as we uncover the stories behind the palace gates, the ones the Royal Press Office hopes you'll never hear. Until then, I'm your host, and this was the Palace Vale. What's really going on with King Charles?